What's up, everybody? I'm Brian from I Want Tesla, and you join me partway through the install of my air ride in my 2020 Tesla Model Y Performance. Now I say partway because I've already filmed quite a bit, a couple hours of footage, and I got a memory card malfunction on the GoPro here. Thanks, GoPro. Really appreciate that. Trying a new camera out to try to get a little bit better footage, especially in tight areas inside the Frunk. So I lost all the footage from the beginning. What I have here is an air ride system. It is an Airlift 3P system for my Tesla. You might be asking, what is a 3P? Well, 3P stands for, I don't know what the 3 is for, but the P stands for pressure. And there's two different systems that they sell. Well, they're actually three different systems. They sell a P, an H, and an S. This is the P, which means it's pressure-based system. And so the computer actually displays the pressure on this device here that goes inside the car, and you can control everything with that. So it is set to a certain pressure for each bag, and then that gives you a certain ride height or a really close ride height, depending on who's in the car, how many people are in the car, and things like that. Now the H is for the ride height. There's height sensors, so it knows exactly where the car is at, and that's really, really nice, but not necessary. And it's an extra feature that is, like I said, really nice to have. Most people start out with the P, and then what's really nice about Airlift, you can always add the H to the system and then have that better quality. So most cars, like the new Model S, the Plaid, and actually all the Plaids, our Audi e-tron, the Porsche Taycan, they all have height sensors, and that tells the car where it's at. And so when you set it to a certain height, it knows exactly where that is. So if you put a bunch of stuff in the trunk, the car will actually level itself. My car won't do that yet. My car will actually sag a little bit, and then I'll have to adjust the pressure with that controller to that certain height. So if you're going to be towing with your car, this actually adds a little towability to the car, if that's a word. But you set a preset for that trailer so you actually ride smoothly and at the right height. I'm starting with the P, and then we're going to go to the H eventually, I'm sure. You know me. So let me pick you up to speed here. I've taken the Frunk out, and I took quite a long time figuring out where I want everything in this. Now this setup is wrong for the Model Y. According to their directions, the controller, which is that right over there, needs to sit above this. It's because it doesn't want water to get in here. And yes, water can get in this because this pulls in air, and condensation is in air. There's humidity inside air, and it will, if you're in a lot of cold and warm climates that go up and down quite a bit, like it is in the fall and spring, you will get condensation inside the tank. So you don't want this higher than the controller because water can get in there. Now there is a water vapor system that will trap the water so it doesn't continue through the system, but it's always good to have that thing above this. So I am going to rearrange this. I have something coming for that that's going to lift that up a little bit, but I do need to move this. Also, this is a very big tank. This is a 5-gallon tank. I don't think a 5-gallon tank is what needs to fit into a Tesla. I would do a 4-gallon tank, but this is what I have. I'm going to work with this now. But the reason being, it should not mount to the back here because this is the bottom release for the drain. That's how you drain the water. So we're going to want that to the bottom. I'm going to make an L bracket and paint it black that will swing out and hold this the right direction. And possibly lower it a little bit. I went with one compressor here, and the reason being, a lot of people do 2 compressors because it takes less time to fill this up, but I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the draw on the battery, possibly throwing a code onto the dash thinking the battery is dead. Now I do have a lithium battery, so I'm probably not going to have an issue with that, but it's better safe than sorry. Like I said, I'm still in the process of mocking everything up. I did drill holes. This is bolted down. That controller is going to go right down here for the time being to get this to work and hold 200 pounds of pressure so I can put air into those bags. This is the front suspension. That's what fills this. This will go up and down. This is the part that squeezes up and down. Once you put more air into this, it'll lift the car. This is the back ones along with the shocks. This is a complete kit from Airlift and it's really nice. Should be pretty easy to install, but don't get the 5-gallon tank, get the 4-gallon tank, or a lot of people do 2 3-gallon tanks. I think that would be better. I really do. It'd be nice to hide the tanks. It's just there's no room. If you have a Model 3 without the front motor, everything can be stowed underneath there and you don't see anything, and then you still have use of your frunk. Most cars put these in the trunks. They're all the way in the back, and then so they give you a lot of wiring for this. Now, let me go over the wiring here. This is the controller I was talking about, and that's gonna go in the frunk, and it just has one connection. Oh, by the way, this is just gonna be a crash course on the wiring. It's actually not that hard, and usually wiring is the most tricky part. This is a relay, which sends a safe signal to the compressor to kick on. And these lines here are for the height-based system, which is really nice. It's all in the harness. You just plug each piece into, say this is the front left, you're gonna run this, you're gonna run the sensor over to the wheel, and you just plug it in here. And within the controller, you can switch it over to the height-based system. It's that easy. It's difficult to put the sensors in and find a good spot and fabricate some stuff, but it's nice that they include it into the wiring harness, so it makes your life easy. And then we do have lines for the compressor. These are the power lines for the compressor. We just have to tap these into the lines coming out of the compressor. This right here is if you had 2 compressors going and you tie those together and they work together. And then from there, this is just coiled up. That goes to the battery, and there's an inline fuse that I have to add, but there's a long line because most of these are in the trunks, and this has to run to the front of the car. We're just gonna probably cut that quite short. And then if we follow this all the way back around, these are the only 2 lines that are going inside the car. This is the USB cable. This plugs into that little display where you control everything. That is a wired system, so it's not gonna have any lag or anything like that. You do have an app on your phone that you can control everything from outside of the car, which is really nice, especially in a Tesla, because the Tesla stays on. Well, for a little bit anyway. And then this pink wire here goes to an ignition wire. And of course, there's an inline fuse with that as well. Basically what this does is it's a remote wire. This will tell this that the car is on and allow power to go to everything. So really not that difficult for wiring. I'm gonna get to the wiring. I gotta clean up a bunch of stuff. Everybody's car is gonna be a little different, even though they're all the same cars. They all look the same, kind of. Mine doesn't look like anybody's. You can run the wires however you want to. You can run the setup however you want to. It doesn't matter. It's all the way you wanna do it. If you wanna hide everything and not see anything, that's great. If you wanna put everything in the trunk, you still can put everything in the trunk and then still use the frunk. But most Tesla people use the frunk for this. And then after we get all that done, we have to run the line. This is the 1/4-inch line that we have to run to each tire or to each wheel. And with the Model Y, it's easy. We can just pop right through there into the front. The bottom, we're going to run through the plastic side skirt all the way to the back. Makes it easy. Don't have to feed anything through inside the car. And this should be a fairly decent install. Whew, that was a lot. That was a lot. That was 3 hours of recording that I did earlier and summed up into a few minutes. So time to go back to work. So since I lost a lot of footage, this is not gonna be a complete detail of how to install, but there are some shops that you can take things to and have this done to. You can buy the kit and have this installed somewhere. You don't have to do this just yourself. You can have friends come over and try this out. There's a lot of people online that would help you as well. There's a great community of lowlifes that will bend over backwards, answer some questions that you have. And basically all you have to do is really plan everything out and make it happen. That's why it's taken me quite a long time. I actually have the whole build in my head before I go do it. That way I don't run into any issues, but I guess I have because the tank's too big. But back to work. All right, day 2. It's late in the afternoon and I've been fiddling with some things and I decided to go a totally different route. I decided to go the way it should be designed. So I went to the store and got this bracket. I'll eventually paint this black or do something different with this, but I didn't want to set this up wrong and have some issues because with the drain plug in the center that would have been on the back half, this could fill up halfway full of water. I didn't want to do that, and so that is completely wrong. So I have the drain plug down here underneath. I put the brains up here because you don't want water to fill in here, but I wanted to get it working properly from the beginning. I also had to get a 90-degree angle for the inlet of the compressor here. And then I have to run the wires. I have to make a good hole for these wires here and this wire. So everything here is buttoned up. All the ports are underneath here. Everything's bolted on. We're now time to move into the vehicle and run the wiring. They supply the connectors for this. The inline fuse will be right into there. This goes right to the compressor here, and then the other lines feed inside. Now inside, I'm going to feed into the center console both of these wires, because remember, this is the ignition wire that has to go to something that turns on, and the center console power supply turns on. And then this one here goes to the controller, so we just need that in the center console as well. That's going to be some fishing over into there. So yes, this has taken a while. I've had to redo things, but again, I didn't want to do it wrong. This is always going to be a work in progress. I probably will want to take this out eventually and wrap it, probably the same color as the car, or do something totally different with it. And I may decide to do something different with that as well. Or a tank company hits me up and we do something totally different altogether, which would be really cool. Is 2 3-gallon tanks, kind of make them look like Duracell batteries or Energizer batteries, and have them flipped backwards, almost like they go into a toy. I think that might be cool. Or even 3 across the top and everything hidden, everything else hidden. I'm gonna make it work so we can get onto the suspension so I can lower the car, because it's already 3 o'clock on Sunday. That's probably going to be tomorrow. This thing probably won't be moving until Monday. It'll be the same video for you guys, but you know, it's going to take a while for me. So I got to get to work. I got to stop talking. So I'm moving right along. I put in the inline fuse here. I didn't put the fuse in yet, but it's attached to here. I have not attached the negative yet. I have wires ready to go. I just need to bring those through into the bucket. When I bring that in, I took all the wires out that I had and I ran the 2 wires in. They're sitting right here. I'm going to disassemble the center console to get to that over there. But I decided, you know what, before I go too much farther into that, it's getting close to dinner time. It's 4 o'clock. I decided to pressurize the tank with my compressor. So I ran a line into the Schrader valve, and that's what this is for. If something happens to this compressor, you can still fill this with air so you can still lift your car and continue with your drive. And what I did was I took a bottle of water and soap and you just spray it on there. Now I have this 4-way setup for tire pumps, and I can fill the air and I can see how much is in there, although it's reading an error for some reason. Not sure why I was reading an error. But anyway, there's air into this line, and as you spray, you can see there's no bubbles on anything. If there was a leak, there would be bubbles. And let me show you where it would be. I spray this, and you can see right there, those bubbles are coming out. Now I've sprayed them all. I've sprayed all the joints, and it's just this elbow, this one-way valve going into this elbow. And I think that's not a very strong elbow. So I need to go get another 90-degree angle, maybe something more strong, because that is going to leak all the time, and then my tank's going to be empty every time I come out to the car. The car won't be on the ground, it's just my tank will be empty, and the compressor will run all the time to keep trying to fill this up, because this tank is going to be filled up to 200 psi, and that's going to be a lot of pressure. And right now I got like 60 into that, and probably it's down to 45 by now. So that is something we have to fix. And of course that'll be tomorrow. I'm not going to do it right now. But if you want to release all the air, you just pull that tab and all the air is removed out of the tank. So it's kind of a cool system. So again, the tank, well, the compressor comes up and fills the tank in from the top. This part is capped, so there's only one thing on this side. On the bottom is a drain tube, and that comes to this valve, which we can shut off completely, or we can fill manually. The way the air comes out, on this side, there's a tube that comes up to this water trap. It's kind of temporarily placed here, and then that feeds into the inlet into this, and then this is where it branches out into the 4 spots, and also there is an exhaust off of here that we have to route out of the car as well. And this is the brains though. Everything is controlled inside here with the controller on the inside. I did add this as well. This is for a chuck, so I can actually, once this is full, I can fill up my tires or someone else's tires just off of this tank. I have a portable compressor with me all the time, and I can help out people on the side of the road. Because we all should be helping out everyone, right? Great. Of course, when I'm done, I'm going to show you how this car goes up and down, or actually you already saw it in the video. But I'm going to go over exactly everything that I did to this car and everything that you'll need for this. And of course, there's going to be updates to this as well. This is, like I said before, this is a work in progress, and it's a fun work in progress. So as far as the wiring goes, the gasket I went through is back in there. I fed the wire down and over into here. I zip tied it to that wire there and brought it underneath the center console. And now I've removed everything out of my glove box, and I'm gonna pop this panel off to get to this cigarette lighter right there. I don't even know if they're called cigarette lighters anymore, but that's what that looks like. You're just gonna pry this off with a pry tool. It should just come right up. It's very difficult because there's 3 clips here and only 2 clips here, so this is very flimsy, so be careful. And once we get in there, we can see everything. And once we lift this up, there's a clip underneath on this side. That is for the key card, and now your key card won't work, and actually disables all the other faults. It disabled my warning that I had on there for my tire pressure sensor. And we're going to tie into this right here. So after this step, there's 4 bolts holding this whole cup holder down. Yeah, there's 2 clips right here that go all the way through. I think we have to disconnect this. So, this thing is just this. Alright, so we're going to follow these wires back, but I have to get this out of the way. Oh, let's remove these so we don't pop them all out like popcorn. Alright. Ooh, there we go. A little violent. Actually, the metal clip stayed in there. It attaches to this, and we're gonna just fish that back out. And so we don't lose it, we clip it back on. Now, it won't be as strong, but you saw how strong that was. If it's half of that strength, whew, I think we're in good shape. So now we gotta find a way to get those wires up into here so we could tap in to this one. We also got to figure out which one is the power, not positive. The blue one's probably power, the black one's probably the ground. This is where my friend tied into his, so I'm just going to actually message him and say which one he did. I think he even told me already. There is a path you can get through here and just stick your hand through it, and eventually you'll find it. And now we just need to hook the inline fuse into this along with that pink wire, and we're all set. I didn't run this with it. This is the USB cable for the controller. I'm going to run that separately. I don't know exactly where. I really don't need it into here. So I don't know where this is going to go at this moment. I still don't know where I'm going to put the controller. I'd like the controller somewhere easy where I can just push the buttons here. I'd actually like to take this off and embed it into here sideways. This would be really cool because I can push on this and it's not going to open. Once I push up here, that's when it triggers the opening. I could just do it right here standing it up, but I don't like that. I have to reach all the way up here. I would like to just be able to push the buttons right here. That involves destroying this. For right now, I'm just going to feed that through so I have it here. I can always do something with it later. I can even tape it to double-sided tape next to here. Who knows? We'll figure that out. Alright, so I turned the power off to the car so I can cut into the blue line and fished it in and tied in the inline fuse. I don't have a fuse in there yet because I'm not finished. Now we have power, and this is a remote wire, so when the car is off, when the doors are closed and the car goes to sleep, the compressor will go to sleep as well. Can't really put that back together yet because I do need to put the fuse in there so I can put the armrest down. Then tomorrow is the busy day of installing all the suspension and then running the lines to it and then testing it out and then watching this go up and down. It'll be a 3-day process, but I really haven't worked full days. It's been, the first day was probably 4 hours. Today It's 5:20. I started, what time did I say I started? I can't remember. But I've been fiddling around a lot, trying to do different things. But I've got a lot of things checked off the list. Power, water leaks, rearranged everything up with the compressor and everything. So tomorrow should go smoother.